So, hello and welcome. My name's Steve Nobel, and today I'm speaking with Nellie Apostolova on Follow Your Bliss. So, Nellie is an Enlightenment and Embodiment teacher based in Spain. She's dedicated the last 20 years to examining and discovering the potential of the human being. Her spiritual journey started at the age of 15 when she found herself depressed, suicidal, and overwhelmed by the challenges of life. She had a full Kundalini Awakening enlightenment at the age of 33 and describes it as the most exquisite, sublime human experience, a continuous state of infinite expansion, love, and unity with life and oneself. And Nellie's website is infinitebliss.co.uk. Do check it out. So that sounds amazing, Nellie, that experience. But before I get into that, can I ask you something about your early life? Because it sounded like your early life was a bit more challenging.
Yes, it was completely challenging, literally waves of highs and lows. So having those spiritual experiences of unity and samadhi, and then meeting life in a very raw way, feeling low, feeling depressed, feeling suicidal. I came to London when I was 15, and I lived in UK for nearly 20 years. And I think the emotional challenges were quite great. And so there was this division between spirituality and life, and that's actually a big part of what then fueled my spiritual journey of wanting to integrate the spiritual experiences I was having and wanting to heal emotionally and kind of bring the two together.
Yeah. And at the age of 33, something different happened to you. It sounds like something amazing. Can you describe that experience, if possible?
Yes, I can. Yes, absolutely. But perhaps I'll explain a little bit what led to it, because otherwise it just won't make sense.
Right.
So I was very much a spiritual junkie. You know, I wanted to try every practice and every guru and every teaching over the years, over the last 10, 15 years or so. And I did apply a lot of practices in my life, from Kundalini meditations in the Osho community, and later self-inquiry and Advaita and other teachers. I spent time in India for about a year, which was really beautiful and really blissful, really heart melting. And in that piece, I found a lot of fulfillment and satisfaction, but a part of me remained really disturbed. I felt like I was not one with everything. I was not everything. I was being aware of a oneness, or I was being aware of a peace and a bliss, and it was there, but I was not one with it. So that yearning in my heart fueled more spiritual search. And then I met a teacher called Jan Esmond, who transmits Shaktipat, and he wrote in a book very beautifully about the dark night of the soul. And that's exactly what I was feeling, where I knew the love and the unity and the oneness, but part of me felt like I was not it yet. I wasn't it all the time. So I was like in turmoil in my heart, in my chest, and I wanted that. And when I met him, he explained that the reason for that human suffering is because the Kundalini energy remains stuck in the body. So no matter how many spiritual experiences we've had, which we've had many, it's about really integrating them and allowing that contracted Kundalini energy to fully liberate itself, to fully unblock the entire body and leave through the crown chakra. So we basically flow freely like the Taurus does. And actually to experience that 100%. Initially it comes partially when there's a Kundalini awakening and people do meditations, get Kundalini in their brain, go like, I feel bliss, I feel great. That's brilliant. I did a lot of that. So just keep on doing it. And the Shaktipat, what was so beautiful and unique about Shaktipat was that instead of actually us practicing to elevate ourselves to the higher power and the unity consciousness, it's that force itself that comes down on us. It's that force itself of Divine Mother, Krishna, Christ consciousness, all the holy teachers that have taught for centuries and centuries, that come and transmit their energy through somebody who's been awakened. And when I felt the energy of the transmission, really, and I learned about this, I was like, this is it, this is for me, I'm going to do that. And so I did that for about 1.5 years, and I meditated on the love and the bliss and the unity that is ever present, the love that's flowing in and out of everything. And I literally felt my energy elevated more and more and more, until the, the so-called one big experience that was very gradual until you got to that point, is literally the last blocks in my throat. There's general blocks that people have in the throat, in the heart, in the sacral, always shake, and it's always where our conditioning is, where our trauma is. So those last blocks in the throat and in the heart basically freed themselves, and the energy went past my head, past my brain, and completely merged with unity, completely merged with the divine, with all of humanity. It's blissful, it's peaceful, it's indescribable, and it leaves irreversible, like an irreversible shift, so that the central point of reference for who I am and my being is that unity, as opposed to the separate identity. So people suffer because of that separate identity, that contracted Kundalini, where the nervous system reports to your brain that you're operating as a separate thing. And when that's freed, you first of all and everything. And then your individuality. Then you wear a dress, whatever. And you play with life, but there's an inner fulfillment, there's wholeness, there's bliss, there's a coming home, merging with divine. And that was the experience. And hence bliss, and following my bliss has been a big part of my journey.
So is it unblocking the channel? This is
Yes.
core part of it, unblocking the channel, so that flow can flow through, and there's no bottlenecks which kind of squeeze it and create a problem with it.
That's right. So there's ways to unblock it through breathing up and down the channel, which is a yogic practice. There's various ways, together with the energy transmissions, as I found that most effective, because for anything else, it's the human effort, and we have to do a lot of it, a lot of practice, so to speak. Or we receive, we let go and receive that energy to come, which absolutely intelligently knows where to go and what to repair, to unify you with itself, which is you.
Yeah, wonderful. Is it same for everyone? You've worked with people, I'm sure, and you must have experienced their experiences. Is it different? I mean, how it moves is different for different people?
It's different for different people. The energy, the flavor of the energy is different. Sometimes it's like full fire to awaken Kundalini, to bring that light into the body. For example, if people tend to be more passive, or their traumas made them frozen and stuck, and they're like this, the energy will awaken. And if somebody comes like really anxious and stressed and nervous, and oh my God, oh, she's gonna calm me down. It's okay. It's okay. So it can be completely different. But in a way, yes, what we're working with already on our human level is a part of what that energy does. So it's just the more amplified.
I've got some friends who talk about the shadow, and they're really quite into the shadow, not so much bliss, the kind of shadow pain body. And there's also Eckhart Tolle and the pain body. But in Tantra, when I did Tantra, they were talking also about the bliss body. And so what about shadow work? What about the pain body in all of this?
Sure. We are both, we have both. We have a bliss body, and that body of unity. When we do spiritual work, we connect with it, and we know it, we experience it. And that's where people feel their peace, their bliss. But what happens, the more spiritual work we actually do, the more that spiritual energy triggers the shadow. It triggers the parts in us that are contracted. So imagine you have a little light inside you, which is your own aura, your goodness, your love for humanity. But around it, there's all these traumas, there's all these contracted energies. And around that, there's a bigger light that is all of you, that's the bigger consciousness. So the more you start to invite the bigger light in, all your shadows are going to resurface. So I've on my journey, although I haven't called it shadow work as such, I've really met a lot of my shadows, and I've met all my deepest, darkest, most frightened, ashamed, self-hating, self-loathing, whatever you may call that, aspects of the human psyche, because they're here. They have nowhere to go. They can only be met. They have to be met.
Yeah.
And that way we release them. That way we integrate parts of us that might have become shut off or frozen in the process of living life.
So it sounds like the process is blissful, but can be challenging.
That's right. So it's blissful on the whole, and it's held within the greater peace and the greater bliss. But there's no way to avoid oneself. There's no way, that's where pain comes from. There's no way to avoid what's going on inside one's emotions or psyche whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know you're going to do an energy transmission for us, Nellie, around this subject.
Sure.
So I'll pass it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much to everybody who's listening and joining on this. And thank you for being open-minded to receive. And you can just relax, make yourselves comfortable anywhere you're sitting. Allow those 10-15 minutes for yourself, for your healing, for your love, for your being to experience its own peace, its own unity, its own connection. And if you take a deep breath and drop your attention into your body, become aware of your body, its natural breathing, the way it's resting and relaxing. There's nothing else to be concerned about right now, nothing to think about. Just going to take a 10-15 minute break from anything that's concerning you. And allow your body to receive love. Allow yourself to receive love. Allow all those parts of you that feel they're not welcome, they've been rejected, to actually be here. Those parts of you that you've struggled with, allow them to be present. And relax deeply. You may feel tingling sensations, warmth. Let your body shake and move if it feels to.